Moments ago, President Trump told reporters just that he's not happy with the current progress on talks relative to Iran. We wanted to get that on the record. Let's listen in.
Not happy with the fact that they're not willing to give us what we have to have. So I'm not thrilled with that. We'll see what happens. We're talking later. We'll have some additional talks today. But no, I'm not happy with the way they're going.
Are you concerned at all about President Bill Clinton being deposed and that sets precedent for you and your family?
I don't like seeing him deposed, but, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. I don't like seeing him. Look, I like him, and I don't like seeing him deposed.
Howard Lutnick. What's your reaction to that?
Well, Howard would go in and do whatever he has to say. He's a very innocent guy, doing a good job.
Mr. President, you said something going from Iraq now into Iraq. What's your message to the Iraqi leadership?
Well, I get along very well with the Iraqi leadership. Thank you.
So Governor Britain posted on social media that you're planning to steal the 2026 midterm elections. In fact, he says the plan is already underway. How do you respond to Governor Pritzker?
Well, he's got to focus on crime in his state. The crime in his state's doing very badly. If we went and took care of it, we would do just like Washington, D.C. We have no crime. Memphis, it's down 82%. Louisiana, you take a look at Louisiana. What he should really do is focus on crime in his state, because there's too much of it.
Have you made a final decision of Iran? Have you made a final decision of Iran? Have you made a final decision?
No, I haven't.
Mr. President, what will be next move if negotiations break down with Iran?
Well, we haven't made a final decision. We're not exactly happy with the way they're negotiating. They cannot have nuclear weapons, and we're not thrilled with the way they're negotiating. So we'll see how it all works. The Cuban government is talking with us, and they're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money, they have no anything right now. But they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba. We could very well end up having a friendly takeover of Cuba.
What about the post?
After many, many years, we've had a lot of years of dealing with Cuba. I've been hearing about Cuba since I'm a little boy, but they're in big trouble, and we could very well, something good, I think very positive for the people that were expelled or worse from Cuba that live here. You know, we have people living here that want to go back to Cuba, and they're very happy with what's going on.
What about the last news of Epstein files? Particular what about that?
I don't know anything about the Epstein files, you know. I've been fully exonerated. Yeah,
with the options that you've been briefed on for Iran, is there a risk that strikes could turn into a long, drawn-out conflict in the Middle East?
I guess you could say there's always a risk. You know, when there's war, there's a risk in anything, both good and bad. We've had tremendous luck with myself, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi. Everything's worked out, and then we do the Midnight Hammer and so many others. Everything's worked out, and we want to keep it that way, but we're going to see. Look, it'd be wonderful if they'd negotiate really in good conscience, good faith and conscience, but they are not getting there. So far, Peter, they're not getting there.
And has your team told you that if you use the military now, that there will be regime change right away?
No, nobody's told me that. You don't know. I mean, nobody knows. There might be, and there might not be. It'd be nice if we could do it without, but sometimes you have to do it with. When you looked at look, we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's nothing close. I'd love not to use it, but sometimes you have to.
Mr. President, to be clear.
Cuba's doing very badly. They're failing. Cuba right now is, to put it mildly, a failing nation. And I've been hearing about Cuba. I said before, since I'm a little boy, I've been hearing about Cuba, and everybody wanted to change. And I can see that happening. Marco Rubio is dealing on it, and at a very high level. And, you know, they have no money, they have no oil, they have no food. And it's really right now a nation in deep trouble, and they want our help.
Mr. President, Iran is threatening.
So that is what we call a press gaggle. The President of the United States, before leaving the White House today, answering a whole wide array of topics there before reporters. But let's bring in CBS News political reporter Zak Hudak, joining us live right now from Washington. Let's go back to what we started this segment with in the beginning, and that is Iran. It sounds like President Trump continues to have that narrative that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. What is your takeaway when you hear the president say, we'd like to have diplomacy, but?
Reed, I think the takeaway is that the president remains frustrated and remains in a state of wanting to increase pressure on Iran. He clearly does not like the way they're negotiating, feels that they're not negotiating in good faith here, and he's adding pressure by the day as we continue to move resources there. We now know that the USS Gerald Ford is near Israel, which puts us on a totally different level of the magnitude of strikes we're capable of in Iran. So that certainly itself adds pressure. But we had heard from the Omani foreign minister, who Vice President Vance met with this morning, yesterday. Yeah. He said something that suggested talks were getting a little bit more serious, that things were coming to a potential conclusion. Hearing from the president here today, it sounds like he doesn't feel that way. So I think in the coming days, we will continue to have the potential for a strike. But even if there isn't a strike, President Trump will continue to speak about it like he did today, as if that could come at any moment, because that's part of his negotiating tactic here, to maintain constant increasing pressure on Iran and hope that they will come to the table.
Do you think that some of the recent reporting in recent hours relative to inspectors not being able to go in and see and confirm that Iran has not started up uranium enrichment fuels the president being sort of, I guess, tight-lipped there?
I think there's no question of that, and I think it also fuels the pressure, even as he's putting pressure on Iran, the pressure that he's facing from our allies like Israel, who, when they're not getting that information in a way that they can confidently trust, they feel fear that Iran could get to a point that they could strike and even wipe them out. So there's an interesting thing going on here as that happens, where President Trump, the master of applying pressure, is actually facing a good bit of pressure on this himself.
Okay. You are also tracking where the president is off to. He's off to Texas today. What do we know about his priorities for this visit?
He will be in Corpus Christi, which the majority of our oil in this country comes either from the Permian Basin, or if not from that, from another major reserve down there. And the pipelines run straight to Corpus Christi, and that is where our oil goes out to the rest of the world. So as he's talking about energy, that'll very much be his focus today. He's going to the place that, more than anywhere else in this country, energizes the rest of the world. Now, there's a second thing going on in Texas. The president has not involved himself directly in the Senate primary in that state. That's a very close three-way primary. And he will be there with all three candidates tonight. So we and everyone else will be watching very closely to see how he interacts with them and to see if he gives any sort of particular nod of approval to any one of them, because I think the political reality there is that his support could theoretically push any of them over the limit to win that primary. That being said, he's repeatedly said he won't get involved, so it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out today. We'll be watching closely.
Zak Hudak with some pretty smart commentary there and proof that we can save those America Decides vests and repurpose them even in 2026. Good to talk to you, friend.